Memories are one of the most familiar parts of being human, yet they are also one of the most mysterious. At the simplest level, a memory is just a physical process inside your brain. It is not some invisible spirit or magic imprint. It is a pattern of neurons firing in particular ways. Each time you remember something, a network of neurons lights up in a pattern unique to that memory. Your brain is, in effect, a dynamic network of electricity and chemistry, and memories are the footprints left by these electrical patterns. When we say, "I remember my childhood," what is actually happening is that your neurons are activating in a configuration that corresponds to the past experience, reconstructing it in the present. Think of your brain like a library. The shelves hold books, and each book represents a memory. When you want to recall something, it's like reaching up and pulling a specific book from the shelf. You can read it, interact with it, even reference it to create new knowledge. But those books are not floating in some abstract realm. They exist physically on the shelves. They exist because neurons have formed specific connections with each other, because certain molecules are arranged in very particular ways, and because energy flows through the brain along defined paths. The fragility of memory becomes obvious when you consider what happens when the brain stops functioning. Just as a library burns down and all the books are lost, when neurons cease to fire, the patterns that constituted your memories begin to break down. The book, representing your childhood, your first kiss, your mother's voice, your best friend's laughter, all disintegrate as the electrical and chemical structure that held them in place collapses. One analogy is a sandcastle on the beach. While it is intact, it is beautiful and intricate, and you can explore its towers and walls. But when the tide comes in, the sandcastle washes away. The sand still exists, the grains are still there, but the castle as a structure is gone. In the same way, memories exist as patterns of matter and energy, and when the brain dies, those patterns are destroyed. Yet there is something subtle here. While memories in the brain vanish, the universe retains traces of the actions those memories prompted. When you acted on a memory, telling a story, pressing a key, moving your hand, those actions left changes in the environment. They might be small, like moving a book on a table, or large, like influencing another person to make a choice. Even if the original memory disappears, the effects of those memories remain. In this sense, memory is not purely about what is stored in the brain. It is about the ripple it creates in the world. Understanding memory in this physical, scientific way can feel both sobering and liberating. It shows us that our sense of self is tied to real, tangible processes, and yet our influence extends beyond the confines of our own brains. Memories are patterns, fragile and temporary, yet they are part of a chain of cause and effect in the universe, leaving marks that persist even when we do not. Even though memories vanish when the brain dies, the effects of those memories often continue to shape the world. Think of it this way: your memories are not only private experiences, they also guide your actions, and those actions leave traces. Every time you spoke, moved, wrote, or interacted with the world, you created consequences that extend beyond your own awareness. In this sense, your memories ripple outward like pebbles dropped into a pond. Even if the original memory disappears, the ripple remains. Consider a simple example. You recall a funny story from your childhood and decide to tell it to a friend. While the memory itself exists only in your brain, the act of sharing it leaves an imprint on your friend's mind. They laugh, remember, and perhaps tell the story to someone else. Your memory, in a way, has escaped the confines of your own brain and entered the world. The story may morph, change, or even fade over time, but its existence in reality is a consequence of your memory acting upon the universe. Another way to think about it is through small physical actions. Every keystroke, every gesture, every movement caused by a remembered idea leaves a mark on the environment. You type a message and the letters exist on a screen or in cyberspace. You move an object you remembered needing, and the object now occupies a different location. Even if you forget the memory itself, these tiny traces persist. Feynman would remind us that physics describes the universe in terms of cause and effect. Actions have consequences, and those consequences often outlive the original thought. This is related to the principle behind the second law of thermodynamics, which states that energy tends to spread and disperse. Every action you take, powered by memories, decisions, or habits, spreads energy in some way. The universe records the result, even if the subjective experience of the memory disappears. Think of it as dropping a cup of water on a table. The water splashes, drips, and leaves wet marks. Even if no one remembers the moment, the physical effects remain. Memories may be fragile, but their consequences are often tangible and persistent. This perspective also helps us understand why memories feel so important. They are not just internal stories, they are engines of interaction with the world. They shape behavior, influence relationships, and guide decisions. While the brain encodes memories temporarily, the impact of those memories can cascade through society, nature, and technology. Even after death, the echoes of what you remembered, the choices, actions, and effects those memories generated remain part of the unfolding story of the universe. In a way, the ripple effect of memories demonstrates that humans are never fully isolated. We exist within a network of cause and effect, and our memories are a catalyst for change. While the private, lived experience of a memory may vanish, the world continues to carry traces of what we once knew. This subtle persistence reminds us that memory is not only about holding on to the past, but about leaving marks on the present and future, even when we ourselves are no longer there to remember. Memory is not only fragile after death, it is fragile even during life. Every day, our brains perform the incredible task of encoding, storing, and retrieving information. Yet much of what we experience is lost almost immediately, slipping away like sand through fingers. Some memories fade within hours, others within years, and only a few remain vivid for decades. This natural process of forgetting is an essential part of how the brain functions. Forgetting allows us to prioritize relevant information, focus on new experiences, and prevent our minds from becoming overwhelmed with details that no longer serve us. Scientists have long studied why some memories endure while others vanish. The brain strengthens certain connections through repetition, emotional significance, or context. When you practice a skill, revisit a memory, or experience strong emotions, the corresponding neural pathways are reinforced. Conversely, memories that are rarely recalled or lack emotional weight tend to weaken over time until the information is effectively lost. The same principle applies on a larger scale after death. The intricate web of neural connections that encoded your experiences collapses, and the memory cannot be retrieved. Memory loss is not only a matter of decay but also of reconstruction. Every time we remember something, the brain is actively reconstructing the past, filling in gaps, and sometimes introducing subtle errors. This means that memory is not a perfect recording, it is a dynamic process, constantly shaped by present context and interpretation. Even while alive, what we believe we remember may differ from what actually happened. Death ends the process of reconstruction entirely, freezing the brain in its final state. The memories as we experience them, the stories, sensations, and emotions cease to exist. Yet forgetting and memory decay illustrate something deeper about the nature of human experience. They reveal that memory is not absolute, but relational. A memory's significance comes not only from its existence in the brain, but from how it interacts with the world, how it guides action, influences decisions, and connects us to others. In this sense, memory is both internal and external. Even if a memory fades or disappears, its influence may persist through the consequences it has already generated. The fragility of memory also highlights why humans struggle with the idea of death. We are intimately attached to our memories because they form the core of identity. Losing a memory feels like losing a part of ourselves. Feynman often emphasized the importance of understanding phenomena without resorting to comforting illusions. In the case of memory, acknowledging its impermanence can be uncomfortable, but it also brings clarity. The impermanence of memory is not a failure. It is a natural outcome of the physical processes that sustain life. Ultimately, the delicate, fleeting nature of memory reminds us that our personal experiences are temporary. They exist in the moment and in the network of consequences they produce, but they do not last indefinitely in isolation. This understanding allows us to appreciate memories for what they truly are: physical patterns of energy and matter, dynamic yet fragile, shaping the world while they exist and quietly leaving their mark, even as they fade. One of the most fascinating ideas in modern physics is that information in the universe is never truly destroyed. This includes the information stored in memories. At first, it sounds counterintuitive. When a brain dies, the memories it held seem to vanish completely. But from a physics perspective, the universe is made up of matter and energy, and both obey strict laws. One of these laws is that information about the state of a system is preserved even if it becomes inaccessible. In other words, the physical imprint of your memories might still exist in the universe, but in a form that is scrambled, dispersed, and practically impossible to reconstruct. To understand this, imagine dropping a letter into a blender. After the blender runs, the words on the page are gone in any meaningful sense. You cannot read the letter, and the message seems lost. Yet the ink, the paper fibers, and the molecules are still there, scattered across a new arrangement. The information is no longer usable as a coherent message, but it has not vanished from existence. Similarly, when a brain dies, the neurons stop firing, synaptic connections collapse, and the experience of memory disappears. The specific pattern of energy and matter that constituted the memory disperses, blending into the chaotic background of the universe. The information is effectively unrecoverable, but it is still part of the ongoing physical state of everything around it. Quantum physics deepens this idea even further. At the quantum level, information is never truly destroyed. Even in extreme cases like black holes, where matter appears to vanish, modern theories suggest that the information encoded in particles is preserved, perhaps at the edges of space and time or in subtle correlations invisible to us. This means that, in principle, the universe retains a record of everything that has ever happened, including the memories encoded in brains. We cannot access them after death, but the fundamental structure of reality carries traces of all past events. This perspective reshapes how we think about memory and mortality. While our lived experience of memory is temporary, the universe itself is an enormous ledger, recording consequences, patterns, and transformations. Memories are not immortal in the sense that we can continue to experience them personally, but they contribute to the ongoing state of the cosmos. Every thought you had, every memory you recalled, became part of this vast web of information, influencing events, energy flows, and interactions in subtle ways. It also highlights why humans find the impermanence of memory so unsettling. We feel as though losing a memory is equivalent to being erased, but from a cosmic perspective, our memories participate in a larger system where nothing is ever truly lost. They change form, scatter, and merge with everything else, leaving subtle traces that persist in ways we may never perceive. In this sense, death transforms memories from private experiences into part of the ongoing tapestry of the universe. Thinking about memory this way allows us to see death not as absolute erasure, but as a transformation. Our memories, like energy and matter, are never entirely destroyed. They are simply reconfigured into forms that continue to exist, woven invisibly into the complex dance of the universe, a dance in which we have been active participants. The impermanence of memory in the brain does not mean its consequences vanish. It only means that our experience of those memories comes to an end, while the universe itself carries the echoes onward. Humans have always struggled to make sense of memory, especially when faced with its impermanence. The reason is partly psychological and partly biological. Memories are not just isolated events stored in the brain, they are intimately tied to our sense of self. The thoughts we remember, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, form a continuous thread of identity. Losing a memory feels, in a very real sense, like losing a part of oneself. When we think about death, this loss becomes total, and it is natural for the mind to resist accepting that memories, the core of our experiences, could vanish completely. From a scientific perspective, this difficulty is understandable. Our brains evolved to survive in the present. They are excellent at interpreting patterns, predicting outcomes, and guiding actions based on past experiences. But they are not built to intuitively grasp what happens when consciousness ends. Our evolutionary advantage lies in remembering just enough to navigate life effectively, not in understanding the ultimate fate of our neural circuits after death. The very qualities that make memory seem permanent, its vividness, its emotional resonance, and its connection to identity, make the idea of memory disappearing so alien and unsettling. Feynman often emphasized that just because we cannot intuitively grasp something does not make it mysterious or magical. There is a clear distinction between the limits of human intuition and the rules that govern the universe. Physics shows us that memories are patterns of matter and energy. They obey the laws of chemistry and electricity. When the brain dies, these patterns break down. This is not a moral failure or a cosmic injustice. It is the natural result of the physical laws that sustain life. Accepting this requires courage and curiosity rather than denial or superstition. Part of the struggle also comes from the reconstructive nature of memory. Every time we remember, we are actively rebuilding the past using fragments stored in the brain. Memories are not static snapshots, they are dynamic, influenced by current knowledge, emotions, and context. Because memory itself is malleable, it feels alive, almost permanent, even though it is constantly changing. This illusion of permanence makes it difficult to accept that, ultimately, memories are temporary and fragile. The fear of memory loss is compounded by our social nature. Memories connect us to others. We remember our parents, friends, teachers, and experiences together. When we think about dying, it is not just our own memories that we imagine disappearing. It is the shared history that binds us to others. This awareness makes memory loss feel more profound, as though an entire network of human connection could vanish along with us. Understanding why humans struggle with memory and death clarifies something important. The difficulty is not due to a lack of science, but because memory is entwined with identity, emotion, and social experience. The brain creates a compelling sense of continuity, and it is this sense that vanishes at death. Feynman would remind us that clarity comes not from comfort, but from curiosity. The impermanence of memory is not a failure of understanding. It is an invitation to see reality honestly, to appreciate how fleeting yet profound each memory truly is, and to recognize that our experiences, while temporary, shape the world in lasting ways. Even though memories are fragile and ultimately disappear when the brain stops functioning, they leave an imprint on the universe through the actions they inspire. Every thought, every recollection, every decision triggered by a memory becomes part of a chain of cause and effect that continues long after the memory itself has vanished. In this sense, memories are not isolated, they are catalysts that shape the world. Each choice we make, guided by memory, creates ripples that extend far beyond our own lives. Imagine a single moment you remember an event from your childhood and decide to share it with a friend. That story might make them laugh, change the way they perceive a situation, or even inspire them to act differently. That influence, set in motion by your memory, spreads outward, touching people and events you may never see. Like a pebble dropped into a pond, the initial disturbance spreads in concentric circles, affecting the environment in ways both subtle and profound. Even though you cannot track every effect, the consequences exist, forming a chain reaction that outlives the memory itself. At a larger scale, the universe operates as a vast network of interacting systems. The decisions we make, informed by memories, alter energy flows, rearrange matter, and influence other living beings. Memories drive creativity, problem-solving, and innovation. When a scientist recalls a principle from the past, that memory leads to new experiments, discoveries, and technological advancements. When a parent recalls the lessons of their own childhood, they shape how they raise their children, passing on knowledge and values. Memories are temporary, but their impact propagates indefinitely through the network of life. Even small, seemingly insignificant memories have consequences. The act of remembering a friend's birthday might inspire a thoughtful gesture that brightens someone's day, which in turn affects their interactions with others. This subtle ripple effect illustrates that no memory exists in isolation. Every memory interacts with the world, guiding actions, influencing behavior, and creating changes that persist beyond the lifespan of the individual. The universe, in a way, becomes a living record of the memories of countless beings, encoded not as experiences but as consequences, effects, and transformations. This perspective reframes how we think about death and memory. While the subjective experience of remembering ends with the brain, the echoes of those memories continue in the physical world. Our memories shape reality not by existing forever in our minds, but by influencing what happens next. Feynman often emphasized that understanding nature requires recognizing cause and effect at every level. Memories, fragile as they are part of this web of causality. Their disappearance from consciousness does not mean their influence ceases. It simply shifts form, becoming part of the unfolding story of the universe. Thinking this way transforms the way we value memory. Rather than lamenting its impermanence, we can appreciate the role each memory plays in shaping the world. Memories are not only personal treasures, they are engines of change, contributing to an endless chain of events that links every life to every other. Even when forgotten, even when the mind ceases to function, the world carries the consequences of what we once remembered, ensuring that each memory leaves a lasting, albeit indirect, mark on reality. When the brain stops functioning, the vivid experience of memory disappears. The neurons that once fired in intricate patterns collapse, and the chemical and electrical processes that sustained your recollections cease. The books on the shelves of your mental library crumble. The moment-to-moment experience of remembering, the feelings, the sights, the sounds, the sense of self connected to the memory vanishes completely. In that sense, death is the final and absolute form of forgetting. The memories you carry in your mind no longer exist as experiences, because the physical structure that encoded them no longer works. Yet this does not mean that all traces of those memories disappear from the universe. Memories are not purely internal phenomena. They are catalysts for action. Every time a memory influenced a decision, it altered the state of the world in some way. You may have remembered to say something kind to a friend, avoided a dangerous path, or written a message that changed someone else's day. Those effects, no matter how small, persist. Even after the neurons stop firing, the universe carries the consequences of your memories in its ongoing flow of events. The memory itself, as an experiential pattern, is gone, but its influence remains woven into the fabric of reality. The physics of information helps us think about this in a more precise way. Information, even when scrambled or dispersed, is never fully destroyed. The neural patterns that encoded your memories disperse into the environment at death, blending into the larger system of matter and energy. The information exists in a highly disordered form, unrecognizable, inaccessible, and effectively unusable. But it is not annihilated. In principle, the universe retains a record of every action, every decision, and every memory-driven effect. Your memories, while no longer available to you as experience, leave traces scattered through the world, subtle echoes in the chain of cause and effect. This perspective offers a subtle but profound shift in how we think about memory and death. The disappearance of your subjective experience does not mean that your life or the influence of your memories vanishes. Instead, memories transition from being private, conscious experiences into physical effects in the universe. You can think of it like a wave crashing onto the shore. The wave itself, as a distinct shape, disappears, but it leaves behind ripples, foam, and rearranged sand. Memories vanish from your mind, but the ripples they created persist, visible or invisible, large or small, in the environment and in the actions of others. This realization reframes the impermanence of memory not as an ending, but as a transformation. Memories no longer reside within the mind, yet their influence continues as part of the ongoing processes of the universe. They shape events, influence other lives, and contribute to the evolving patterns of energy and matter. While death is the end of personal experience, it does not erase the impact of memory on reality. Understanding this helps us see that memory is both fleeting and enduring. It disappears from consciousness, but its echoes remain, quietly shaping the world long after the mind that created it has ceased to function. Understanding what happens to memories after death leads to a perspective that is both humbling and profoundly illuminating. The vivid experience of memory, the sense of self that comes with remembering, does not survive the death of the brain. Neurons stop firing, synapses collapse, and the intricate patterns that encoded our experiences dissolve. The story of you, the version of yourself built from memory, ceases to exist in the conscious sense. This is the scientific reality. There is no escaping it, no mysticism required, no comforting illusions. Death brings an end to personal memory. Yet, while the direct experience of memory vanishes, its consequences continue to resonate in the universe. Every choice made, every action taken, every decision informed by memory has altered the world in ways both subtle and profound. The ripple effects of your existence, generated by memories, remain part of the ongoing flow of energy, matter, and interactions. They exist as changes in the environment, influences on other people, and consequences that propagate beyond your awareness. In this sense, nothing you did with your memories is entirely lost. The universe carries traces of those patterns forward, woven invisibly into the web of cause and effect that shapes reality. This understanding changes how we perceive life and death. We often think of memory as a personal treasure, something that defines identity and connects us to the past. And it is. But science teaches us that memory is also a force that shapes the world, whether we are alive to witness it or not. Each memory is both ephemeral and enduring. While it fades from the brain, it leaves an imprint on reality. Our existence, mediated through memory, becomes a contribution to the ongoing story of the universe. The impermanence of memory is not a failure or a void. It is a transformation from private experience to universal consequence. Philosophically, this perspective invites a shift in how we value our own lives and the lives of others. We are transient yet connected. We are fragile, yet our influence persists. The impermanence of personal memory reminds us of the fleeting beauty of conscious experience, while the persistence of its effects highlights our continuity within the greater system of existence. Life, in this sense, is both temporary and eternal, momentary and lasting. We are participants in a vast cosmic chain, our memories shaping the present and future long after the mind that held them has ceased to function. In the end, thinking about memory scientifically and honestly transforms our relationship to reality. It removes illusions of permanence while revealing a deeper form of endurance. We are not erased entirely when we die. Our actions, informed by memory, continue to interact with the world. This duality, the fleeting and the enduring, the private and the universal, is the essence of existence. Understanding it changes the way we see ourselves, our lives, and the world. Life is not about holding on to memories forever. It is about the impact of those memories, the subtle and intricate ways they ripple outward, shaping reality in ways that extend far beyond the boundaries of our conscious experience. This is the scientific truth of memory, ephemeral yet transformative, temporary yet connected, fragile yet woven into the cosmos. It is a vision of reality that is at once honest, profound, and deeply beautiful.